There's no getting around it. We have a used car market crisis on our hands. Before the pandemic, the average price of a used vehicle was $19,872, under 20 grand. But now it's $26,686, a 35% increase, just about $27,000. The pre-pandemic average used vehicle had 65,000 miles on it. Today's vehicle, 71,000 miles, 9% more. So that leaves today's used car buyer paying 35% more for a vehicle with 9% more wear and tear. Plus, the $20,000 used vehicle is becoming harder to find for car shoppers. 5 years ago, there were more than 60% of used vehicles that you could find under $20,000. In the first quarter of 2023, less than half of that number, less than 30% of all used vehicles today are under $20,000. To make matters worse, in the new car market, the share of vehicles sold under 20 grand for new vehicles, less than 1% of all vehicles available in the first quarter of 2023. The supply of used vehicles is being squeezed across the board, which is contributing to increased demand and elevated prices in the market overall. If we look at a 5-year window, the supply of used vehicles is being squeezed across the board, which is contributing to an increased demand and elevated price in the marketplace. For example, in this 5-year window, lease volume dropped significantly to 559,000 vehicles in the first quarter of this year from 1 million vehicles 5 years ago. Trade-in volume declined to 5.5 million vehicles in 2022 from 6.2 million in 2018. Off-rental vehicles, which have historically been a steady source of near-new used vehicles, are now much older and pricier. The average off-rental vehicle age climbed to 3 years in March 2023 from 1.9 years in 2019, and the average price climbed from almost $29,000 in March of 2023 from $15,000, almost $16,000 in 2019. So you can see what direction the trend is going. According to Edmunds' Director of Insight, the good news is that used car prices have softened enough in the first quarter to offer some relief for consumers getting pushed out of the new car market because they are historically high. The not so good news is that used vehicle market continues to be challenging for car shoppers since there are fewer vehicles available and demand is keeping prices historically high. He goes on to say that consumers returning to the used car market for the first time in years might find conditions a bit shocking. Obviously, not so long ago, $20,000 seemed like an acceptable amount of money to spend on a used car to get the optimal blend of mileage and fuel economy and age. In today's market, $20,000 puts consumers into a much older and much higher mileage vehicle, as mentioned before. And it looks like things may not be getting better, at least not anytime soon. Edmunds also noted that used vehicle prices are likely going to stay elevated through the rest of this year, 2023, unless new vehicle sales take a turn. He goes on to say, if new car sales stall out, automakers and dealers could leverage heavier incentives to entice people like you into new purchases, which would in turn put some pressure, some downward pressure on used car values. But since most automakers have been deliberate in aligning vehicle production and demand to avoid the inventory glut issues they faced prior to the pandemic, consumers probably shouldn't count on any major bargains or discounts throughout the rest of this year. And I found this interesting. Americans are holding onto their cars longer than ever before. The average age of a passenger vehicle on the road hit a record 12.5 years this year, according to data gathered by S&P Global Mobility. Sedans are even older, on average 13.6 years. Putting all this together, that's why it's so important to do your research. Keep coming back here so I can give you updates on what's going on in the new and used car market. If you're looking for deals in your area, always use quotes.everymandriver.com. It's a free search engine. More numbers here to keep you educated and up to date on where we stand right now. Prices, of course, record highs. Since the pandemic struck 3 years ago, the average new vehicle has skyrocketed 24% to about 48 grand for a new vehicle on average in April of this year. Typical loan rates on new car purchases have ballooned to 7%, a consequence of the Federal Reserve's aggressive streak of interest rate hikes to fight inflation. This has all pushed the national average monthly auto loan payment well over $700, $729 recently. And experts say families earning the median U.S. household income can no longer afford the average new car payment and still cover their other necessities like housing, food, and utilities. Maybe you can relate. The used vehicle prices on average also have surged since the pandemic hit, up 40% in the last few years to closer to $29,000 on average for a used vehicle, with the average loan rate reaching 11%, and the typical monthly used payment is now $563. And while 12 and a half years is the average amount of time someone's hanging on to their vehicle nowadays, they're doing so because the vehicles are lasting longer, and mechanics reinforce this. Mechanics say people come in bringing their vehicles that have 250, possibly 300,000 miles on the odometer, and they haven't been really doing any major work or anything like that, just doing routine service. One of the reasons they can hold on to these vehicles for 12 and a half, possibly 15, 16, 17 years is because these manufacturers have improved the quality of their vehicles. Engines run longer, bodies don't rust as quickly as they used to, and the components last longer. So when people say this manufacturer or that manufacturer sucks, or you're always having to take them to the repair shop, those are some isolated cases. The newer vehicles are lasting longer. So if you can't afford a new vehicle, go that route. But I understand the circumstances, financial strains on everybody, both new and used car buyers. Continue coming back to my channel for more updates on the car market, both new and used. And if you are in the market for a new or used vehicle, check out quotes.everymandriver.com. It's the best source for the best deals in your zip code from qualified dealerships. So just select the make, the model, in your zip code, and then you'll find the deals that you're looking for in your area. If a manufacturer doesn't pop up for some reason, expand the zip code, be willing to travel a few miles to save a few hundred, possibly a few $1,000s on a new or used vehicle of your choice. That's quotes.everymandriver.com. It's a free search engine. Might as well check it out. Until next time, I'm Dave. Adios.
Thanks for watching. Please click subscribe and give us a thumbs up. See you next time.